Yes, of course I remember the first time I saw the magic wand. It was actually in a porn movie.
This is Tristan Taormino, author, sex educator, and former pornographer.
I saw a movie that was produced by the women who published On Our Backs magazine, which was a lesbian sex magazine. They were also making videos under the name Fatale Video. I watched like every Fatale video there was. I'm pretty sure it was How to Female Ejaculate with Debbie Sundell. There were a group of women sort of sitting in a circle and they were demonstrating, masturbating, and ejaculating. And I thought, what is that?
I've watched the scene Tristan's talking about here, which is from 1992, the year I was born, and it's fantastic. I sought it out many years ago as research for an article I wrote on squirting when I was in journalism school. Most of the focus is on penetration with dildos and fingers, but at one point, after what seems to be a few orgasms, Carol Queen, who you might remember from the last few episodes as the staff sexologist at Good Vibes, pulls out a magic wand to up the ante. Like me, Tristan distinctly remembers how it felt to see this scene for the first time.
I'm like 20 years old, right? So if you asked me like, what does a vibrator look like? I would come up with this image of it would be like hot pink and garish and it would look like a penis and it would be made of like jelly rubber, right? That's probably what I thought a vibrator looked like. So when I saw these, I was like, wait, what's going on? Like, why does it look that way? Why is it not like phallic, like, you know, the rest of the sort of sex toys that I'd been exposed to? And also it just seemed to be getting everyone off.
In every interview I did for this series, I began with one question. Do you remember the first time you ever saw, heard about, or encountered the magic wand? And I have to say, I wasn't surprised at all by how many people told me they first saw it in porn. Odds are good that's where I first saw it too. This vibrator is a porno legend, showing up in everything from queer feminist porn to esoteric artsy porn to hardcore BDSM porn. Today, let's talk about why the wand has become such a staple in sex on screen, what challenges it poses to pornographers who choose to feature it, and what viewers enjoy most about seeing their favorite porn stars wield the wand. I'm Kate Sloan, and this is Making Magic, how the magic wand became the world's most famous vibrator. So when you saw the magic wand in that porn film, did it make you want to get one?
Well, of course it made me want to get one because it seemed like the secret to unlocking pleasure, quite frankly, right? It seemed like, okay, what's the common denominator here? Yes, there are women, they are empowered in their sexuality, they know their bodies, they're shameless, right? So, okay, but what's the other common denominator, which brings about these orgasms that I'm seeing? It looks like the magic wand.
When I ask people what they enjoy about watching someone use a magic wand in porn, they usually talk about orgasms. They talk about moans and groans, writhing around, and contorted facial expressions that seem to convey transcendent pleasure. It's important to note here, though, that being able to reach orgasm with the wand is common but not universal. I've heard many people make the claim that if nothing else can get you off, the magic wand will be able to. I even made that claim myself a few times when I was a young sex toy reviewer who didn't know any better. Many experts I spoke to for this series, though, were adamant that no sex toy can guarantee it'll make you come, and that depicting any sex toy as the infallible bringer of orgasms ultimately just makes people feel more broken if it doesn't work for them. The magic wand is great, but it's not miraculous. That being said, though, if you want to see big, theatrical, shaking, screaming, life-affirming, oh my god, what the fuck was that type orgasms, you probably want to watch porn scenes that feature the magic wand. Tristan remembers shooting scenes like this.
I was trying to do this thing, among other things, by directing porn, where I could really capture real female pleasure and orgasm. And so when I would sit down with performers, I would say, hey, what would make this experience funner? What would help arousal? What will help you come if you're going to come on camera? And they all, of course, said, oh, a vibrator. Definitely a vibrator. And so then when I say, okay, well, I want to have the vibrator that you want on my set. I want to have, you know, whatever you want. For porn stars, the vibrator of choice was the magic wand by far. One of my favorite performers in all of porn, and I did a whole movie with her where she was in every scene, was Adriana Nicole. And Adriana Nicole could have these incredibly powerful orgasms. She would have these orgasms that sort of rocked her entire body, and you could physically see it. I mean, I know people can describe, I feel like I had an all over body orgasm, right? Or it like was from the tip of my toes to the top of my head. But with Adriana, it's like you could see her vibrating, for lack of a better word, like her entire body. And so her orgasms were so intense with the wand. I think those are some of the most memorable.
I have to admit that while the sex educator side of me wants to downplay orgasms and remind you all again that orgasms aren't everything, I love to watch orgasms in porn. And obviously, I'm not alone in that.
It's very important in porn for people to see some sort of a completion, whether it's orgasms, squirting, cum shots. That sort of visible climax, or that sort of clear climax, is really important.
This is Danarama, a kink educator, fetish photographer, and the mind behind the Kink University series on kink.com. His instructional videos cover some milder stuff like hair pulling and finger banging, as well as way more complex concepts like interrogation play and predicament bondage. He's also a huge magic wand fan, personally and professionally.
There were probably 100 wands at the Armory when we were shooting at kink.com. I mean, 100 is a bit hyperbolic, but I can guarantee I've seen 30 in the same room. The reason that you do that is that at Kink we were shooting 26 shoots a week. And some of these shoots required multiple Hitachis, where we would have like a Hitachi under every chair and a Hitachi in every corner. Basically, anywhere there was an outlet, there was a good chance there was a magic wand plugged in. And you would actually arrange the furniture in a way so that it would be within easy reach of a wand's cord. So you look at the upper floor, and that layout was to some degree dependent on the location of available electricity, so that we couldn't have cords running everywhere.
Kink.com isn't the only porn studio that keeps magic wands in reserve in case anybody needs one on set. I also spoke to Ava La Prima, the current director of Crash Pad series, one of the best-known queer feminist porn sites. And she told me the magic wand plays a similarly significant role in Crash Pad shoots. It's featured in over 300 different scenes on the site.
Oh, it's just such a ubiquitous thing. Seeing a magic wand vibrator come out it's like approaching the climax to a movie or a film. Like, oh, here comes the big ones, or here comes the heavy. Gosh, I wish I could figure out a cooler analogy for this right now. But like when you see your hero walk in slow motion down the hallway, you're like, oh, it's gonna get real now. So when our couples come to Crash Pad, we do have some toys on set, some provided by our lovely sponsors like Good Vibes. I feel like it's, as a courtesy, we clean it, of course, in between every use, before and after our shoot days. But a lot of times, actually, couples come in with their own magic wand vibrator. One year we thought someone mistakenly took home our vibrator, only because it shows up so many times a year on set. And for the longest time, we were just wondering, oh no, maybe one of our friends took our vibrator by mistake. We actually, it was just left in one of our other toy drawers, apparently. But very important, a tip of advice, if you and a group of friends play with the same toy, is maybe bedazzle it safely or put some kind of signifying marker on it, just so you know you're leaving with your own toy.
The aesthetics of the wand are an interesting consideration when it comes to porn, because while a lot of people like the toy's signature white and blue color scheme and appreciate that it's friendly looking and non-gendered, it doesn't exactly look like a sex toy unless you already know what you're looking at.
It took me a long time to not think that it just looked too clinical. And at Kink, we would do things like you do whatever you can to disguise it and make it sexier. The two things we would do most often is that we would either completely wrap them in electrical tape so that they were black, except for the head. And then, of course, you put a black condom on the head. And so there's like a big black wand that's much more intimidating and less clinical looking than the standard white and blue, hospital color therapeutic massager. And the other thing that we would do is sometimes we would paint them. We would paint them with gold leaf, or we would paint them bronze, or we would pinstripe them. So you can see a handful of we just grab one of the 100 off the shelf and they're all a different color. And some of them are very distinctive. Like we know, this one is this is for the upper floor, and that's for the training voe, and this is for the Kink University. And so it makes it easier for the directors to kind of keep track of their own toys.
Naturally, when a magic wand is being pushed to its limits on porn sets day after day, it'll eventually stop working. But even then, its iconic appearance can still be enjoyed.
When it's experienced hours and hours of joy, because those motors wear out, it gets retired to become some kind of like a porn trophy. I've received a fair share of glitterized and gold spray painted magic wands as a cute little like take-home gift prize. Always a joy.
Aesthetics aside, there are some technical challenges that the magic wand poses for pornographers who feature it in their scenes, like its noise level, for one thing.
The magic wand is such a ubiquitous sound now. People know what it is.
It was like a lawnmower sound, right? And you can't cut that sound out in post-production, because then you also cut out moans and oohs and ahs and a little dirty talk here and there, right? You cut out all the sound, and the sound for me is hot, and I think for a lot of people. So it's either everything or nothing. And then you just have to deal with this like very, very loud buzzing.
It's kind of gotten a Pavlovian experience over the years, I think, where people are not as curious or annoyed by the sound as they are knowing that something good is about to happen with this.
Oftentimes when we have a vibrator or magic wand on set, we rather enjoy the comforting ASMR-like hum of the vibrator. I think we could just have a whole choir of the humming of magic wand vibrators. As far as we're concerned, it's part of the landscape. We don't find it necessary to kind of tune it out or EQ or kind of balance the sound in any other way. I think mostly what we are EQing and balancing our sound for are screams of joy, orgasms, loud spanking.
And the Hitachi, that hum of the Hitachi does two things. First of all, you know that it's on. And the advantage in porn is that people know that the person it's touching is experiencing something. We know that they're feeling because we can hear it. It's on. If you had just had something silent, then you don't know, why are they suddenly moaning? The other advantage is that when you switch it to the higher setting and you can hear that, then that kind of like is a crescendo and people can hear that too.
Another potential barrier to using the wand in porn scenes is how big and bulky it is, and how if you're using an electric version, you have to stay close to a power source, hence the folks at Kink.com designing their furniture layout to accommodate the wand.
Now, the thing is, back then, I'm talking about the mid-2000s, there was only the plug-in version, and inevitably the bed that someone was on was a million miles away from an outlet. I would have to plug it in with an extension cord. And so imagine the sexy scene of someone sort of splayed out on a bed and their legs are open and they're with their partner and there's like making out and kissing happening. And then all of a sudden, like there is this big vibrator plugged into an extension cord, which is then plugged into the wall. And that's all in the shot. You can't cut it out of the shot, right? So you had to get over that. For me, I had to get over, this like ruins the aesthetics. And for me, like making pretty porn was not my vision or goal. So I was like, plug it in and let's have your way with it. Now, the other thing is, because this isn't like a sort of slim, quote unquote, feminine vibrator, it isn't a little lipstick that you just touch against your vulva. This is a machine and it's serious. And so the head is so big that in fact, it can obscure the vulva or part of the vulva from the camera, right? So I think a lot of people in mainstream porn weren't using it because they were like, you're covering up the vulva. Like, we want to see pussy, essentially. And now we can't see pussy because this giant thing is blocking it. But that giant thing was also making them come.
This tension between using a vibrator that feels great and getting a shot that looks great for the viewer also came up in my interview with Zoë Ligon, who founded the sex shop Spectrum Boutique, wrote the book Carnal Knowledge, and makes porn on OnlyFans. Much of her work revolves around sex toys, and the magic wand is her very favorite.
I think it's such a common thing where people are like, I hate vibrators. And it's like, no, you just haven't found the right vibrator yet. That definitely happened to me. And the magic wand is the one that changed my opinion. And I was just like, oh, yeah, this is what I've been looking for my entire life. I liked it right away. My genitals had never experienced anything like that before. It also taught me how to make myself achieve orgasm in a reliable manner, which was really not something I thought I was just like not capable of having an orgasm, or if I was, it was an elusive thing I had to figure out still. And that just shattered that belief for me. You know, I'm a person who's been on medication for over a decade, and I'm a survivor of sexual trauma. There's a lot of things that are barriers between orgasm for me. I don't want to say I'm repulsed, but fingers are just not something that feel great externally for me. And if fingers aren't a part of the equation for you, vibrators are really great for getting there. On OnlyFans, people would be like, don't you have any videos with just fingers? And I'm like, no, because I don't want to fucking do that. Like, if you want to pay me for a custom video, great, I'll do that. But that is not how I masturbate. Why are you telling me that there's like a more normal or more correct way to masturbate when it's just like not what reality is, for me at least?
The line between authenticity and performativity has been a subject of debate in the porn world for a long time, especially within the niche of feminist porn, which tends to center its performers' comfort, consent, preferences, and fantasies. It's a thorny subject, but in planning out this podcast series, I knew exactly who I wanted to speak to about authenticity in porn. And luckily for me, when I reached out, she said yes.
Hi, I'm Stoya. I was a career pornographer for about a decade and a half, and mostly now I write about pornography, sexuality, and kind of how the rest of life intersects with those things. And I love that you can hear my cat pooping in the background because my office is where the litter boxes are. I almost certainly learned about the magic wand from second wave, sex positive, feminist literature. It's all kind of a sea of different, women kind of searching in the same direction of how can sex be enjoyable for women? What does sexuality for women mean politically? How do we become comfortable with our sexualities? What kind of sexuality should we have? Is porn bad? Is porn good and part of our quest? Like all that kind of stuff. I feel like often when we're having the discussion of authenticity versus performativity with regards to porn, we're acting as though there's sex that takes place on porn sets, and then there's monogamous sex that takes place at home with the lights off between two people. That's not actually the case. There is a spectrum of observation. All the way at one end, you're all by yourself. The lights are off. There are no mirrors. The windows are closed. You have good soundproofing in your apartment. You're going to be one way. Introduce a partner. Turn the lights on. You're going to be more communicative, more expressive, because you're engaged in activity with a partner and ideally you're connecting. Introduce a voyeur or take it to a sex club, so on and so forth. Then we move into, at some point, we sort of catch up with pornography in the form of, just like a little OnlyFans video shot on your cell phone for one client. And that spectrum then continues. It's a nice thick braid of different kinds of sexual activities, different kinds of sexual contexts involving recreation and profession, going all the way through to really high production porn sets set where not only are you well aware that millions of people are going to see this high production with 50 people on the crew, 6 actors actively having sex together, 20 other actors as main characters or background, a few of the producer's friends just sort of loitering. And if you're really a performer, especially someone like me who did work on stage prior to pornography, and while I was working in pornography, I did readings, I've done theater plays, you're gonna express for the back of the room. Now let's talk about acting. You know what good acting is? It's authenticity. It's got to be real. If it's not real, it doesn't sell. I mean, okay, there's that old story about the one actor and the other actor, and the one actor is method and the other actor does things technically, and the method actor is running around the building 5 times before a scene where he's supposed to be sort of like flustered and sweaty to get flustered and sweaty, and the other actor who's older and does things technically goes, have you tried acting? But most of the acting that happens today and the way that I've engaged with acting and with performing in porn, it is method. And you're just always trying to be human. And that's what other humans respond to, is the humanity.
It's worth noting here that Stoya herself isn't much of a magic wand fan. For her and many others, having an authentic good time on camera might look like not using a wand, and that's valid too. A lot of people feel that way. Here's Tina Horn, a former porn performer and director, host of the Kink podcast Why Are People Into That, and writer of the book of the same name.
I think when I was first introduced to the magic wand, it was as this sort of like mythical orgasm machine, like intense orgasm machine. That's how it was sort of mythologized or presented to me. I had been getting myself off with my hands since I was very young. And so actually even the mythology of the vibrator in general was one for me that was like, well, if I already can get myself off this hard without a device, then just like think about the possibilities with the device, right? And so then I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a vibrator, but like my first vibrator was like a very small little purple guy, and it was from like the sex toy shop in my college town. I took it home and was just sort of like unimpressed by the experience, and was like, I'm just gonna keep doing it the way that I've always done it, and like tossed that purple guy in a drawer. So then flash forward to the like queer porn, feminist porn, ethical porn, political art porn scene as it was in the Bay Area circa 2010, right? The magic wand was sort of like the mascot of that scene. And I had witnessed many people having these like intense, profound, mind-blowing, earth-shattering orgasms with the magic wand. And so I was like, well, maybe my problem was just that I was using a dinky vibrator. So now I'm going to get my hands on, march on down to Good Vibrations and like get my hands on the real deal. And so then I took that to town, so to speak, and I found it to be way too intense. And then, candidly, I kind of found myself with this uncharacteristic for me, like inferiority complex and sort of like comparing myself to some of the feminist porn icons of the time and feeling like that there was something wrong with me. That like, even though I had felt like big air quotes, like liberated or empowered enough to like be orgasmic, that I like wasn't like sufficiently orgasmic all of a sudden. And I do think that sort of exemplifies a pattern that we see in feminism, for better or worse, that, and this is the reason that we have so many like waves of feminism, is that people will kind of be like, this is the way to do it. And then it takes like a cycle for people to be like, well, wait a minute, like, what if there's just like more, we don't have to codify this. Like, what if there's more than one way? And I'm not, and I'm not just talking about feminist sex or feminist porn. I think that this is true politically, broadly speaking.
Tina told me she practiced for a long time and was eventually able to reach orgasm with the magic wand. And now she'll often have what she calls perfunctory orgasms with the wand when she needs a midday endorphin rush or some help getting to sleep at night. I've had a lot of these quick magic wand orgasms myself, which actually became a bit of an issue when I dabbled in amateur porn creation and cam shows in my 20s. Clients would sometimes say, just do what you normally do whatever gets you off. But I knew that as much as they said that was what they wanted, they'd probably be less than thrilled to watch me sit perfectly still, holding my wand on one spot for 3 minutes until a nearly silent, hyper-efficient climax. They might even ask for their money back, and at the time, I really needed that money. So I'd put on a show and jerk off in ways I wouldn't normally, and sometimes even fake an orgasm, because they said they wanted authenticity, but I just didn't believe them.
I'm very cynical about the idea of authenticity. I'm very cynical about the value of authenticity in porn, because porn is entertainment, and I feel like anytime we start to put an emphasis on something like authenticity in labor, that starts to be something that people use to take away labor rights. If you look at what is happening in Hollywood with the WGA right now, I feel like if I can draw a line between Hollywood writers' labor rights and the idea of authenticity in feminist orgasms, in feminist porn, anytime you start to say like, oh, well, you have to be experiencing pleasure in order to qualify, in order to qualify for a certain genre, or in order to qualify for a certain kind of job, then that starts to be an excuse to deny people rights, because it's like, you do what you love and you never work a day in your life, right? You can have all of these things in place encouraging people to be real. And then for any number of reasons, if you have like a strict idea of what realness looks like, then you're going to have situations where it doesn't actually look like that. And then you're going to have situations like I had, where I was like, I must be doing something wrong, or I can't let anybody know that I'm not having these feminist orgasms. I think that part of the reason that the magic wand became this icon, this mascot of the feminist porn movement, is that there was a very positive and sincere re-emphasis happening in porn from the idea of the money shot, obviously, right? Like the idea that like a certain kind of orgasm, a certain kind of like ejaculation that you can see is like the ultimate sign that sex happened. And like that's, so every porn needs that so that everyone can feel like this sex was unsimulated and hardcore and really real. And I think that because for so many people, a magic wand orgasm is so intense that sort of it became the like, this is how you know in feminist porn that like a real orgasm happened, because it's a magic wand orgasm. So it's like a larger than life. The magic wand looks good on camera. The magic wand is cinematic. If you're a consumer of queer porn and you enjoy seeing, again, authentic orgasms, then like this massive novelty vibrator is also going to be appealing for consumers, for the people who get off on the people who get off on feminist orgasms, right? The people who get off on feminists getting off. The magic wand orgasm is not a myth. It's real. I'm here to tell you it's real. But that doesn't mean that like it's gonna be that way for everyone.
Feminists have spent a long time fighting against porn tropes that are thought to be degrading to women. They've fought against beauty standards porn stars are held to, which quote-unquote real women are then also judged by. But as Stoya will tell you, liking the wand or not liking the wand, doing porn or not doing porn, having an orgasm or not having an orgasm, none of this makes you any less real.
Yeah, I've heard it enough that it only bothers me when I'm about to get my period or just got a Mirena IUD put in. I am a hormone mess right now. And then I will go into this like mild psychosis of like, I'm not sure I'm real. Because I've been told so many times that I'm not a real woman because real women don't enjoy porn. Real women don't come from penetration alone. Real women aren't exhibitionists. Real women have tits. Real women this. Real women that. Real women don't buy into the patriarchal construct of women as crazy when they're hormonal. It was like, define real woman. It's like, excuse me, what is real woman?
Porn can be a reflection of our realities, our fantasies, and sometimes both. It can help maintain the status quo, or it can push back against it. It can get us off, but it can do a lot more than that, continually prompting new discourse on pleasure, labor, power, and art. Many people first saw the magic wand in porn, where it's known for the intense on-screen orgasms it creates. Of those orgasms, some are real, some are performed, and many are both. When you type magic wand into the search bar on sites like Pornhub and ManyVids, thousands and thousands of results pop up, despite how challenging it can be to shoot with. Evidently, there's something about it that porn stars and porn consumers alike really connect with. And I think that has as much to do with the wand's history and iconic aesthetic as it does with its performance. Tina was right. The magic wand is cinematic. It was born to be a star. Thanks for getting porny with me this episode. Next time, we're gonna get kinky. We'll talk about the many doms, subs, and switches who like using the wand as a prop, as well as why it so often shows up in fetish porn, and how pro-doms work it into their sessions. Until then, keep on making magic. Making Magic is hosted and co-produced by me, Kate Sloan, edited and co-produced by Jamie Pittenger, and made possible by the generous support of Vibratex, with art by Addison Finch. Special thanks to my guests for this episode, Tristan Taormino, Danarama, Ava La Prima, Zoë Ligon, Stoya, and Tina Horn. You can find links to their work in the show notes.